I mean, we're pretty much there. Such red lips. Super red lips. I love them.
Oh, there. Hi. How are you? Is everybody good? Yeah. Okay, good. Good. All right, Micha Mocha, will you do the shaker at Micha Mocha? Do you both want shakers at Micha Mocha? So I should have a second shaker ready. Let me go get one. Hi, guys. Stand up and announce your show when it's time for that. Go like that. Go. Okay. We'll definitely announce the one on the 7th. Practically go inside. It's so big. Here, I have two now. We have a plan for later. Yeah. Yeah. I'll give you one inside. Okay. Or the black one later. Take it out. I think you both. It's actually the loud one. Yeah. When it's time, I'll give it to you. Mel, when it's time, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you when it's time for me to come over.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're going to begin with a bit of a wordless melody, a nigun. So I'll invite us all to sing along. No page necessarily to turn to.
Right. That's a nice thing.
Yeah. We move forward now. We're on page 24. Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem,
Malachei Hasharet, Malachei
Elyon, Ami Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom,
Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon,
Ami Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu.
השלום,
מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון ממלך, מלאכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא, צאתכם לשלום,
צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון
ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שלום עליכם,
שלום עליכם, מלאכי השרת, מלאכי עליון,
ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Let's take a nice deep breath in and out. I feel like this is a week where we're holding on to a lot right now.
We're holding our breath, yeah.
And it's funny, so I wasn't supposed to be here tonight. It was in the rotation. It was actually our student rabbi, James Fader, who, by the way, if you got the announcement last week, will become our assistant rabbi, James Fader, in July. We've grown, and now we can add to our staff. But he has the flu, and we wish him well.
But we are glad he's not here.
No, that's not what I was going to say.
No,
oh, yeah,
I'm
we're
glad he's not here.
Oh, we're glad he's not here because he's going to get sick. Yes, with the flu. It's like, what?
No, I was excited for him to come. I was going to celebrate him.
But yes, we are glad that he's recuperating, and we're glad he's not getting any of us sick. But it was funny because I had a couple hours notice, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh, I thought I got a pass in having to address this week that we've just been through.
Nope.
And
Nope.
I realized, A, just how much I'm holding on to, and B, just how much stuff happened this week.
Yeah.
And that it is impossible to even fully address what happened in even just on Monday, because of how much is moving at any given time. And so I'm going to invite us, I'll talk a little bit about it later, but I'm going to invite us to kind of leave some of that heaviness at the door. Allow yourself to just be present with your thoughts, with the liturgy, with community tonight. It's important to recharge, and Shabbat is that time to do that. And so take a little bit of time to breathe tonight, because many of us have collectively been holding our breath for days. Let it out, and that way, when you leave this room, it'll be a little bit easier to breathe. So we're going to now light our candles and bless our wine. We're on page 2 and 3, and then we'll turn to page number 5.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, Shel Shabbat.
Page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzah banu. V'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon, hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta, V'otanu kiddashta mikol hamim, באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו, ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen. We turn to page 12, L'chuna Ranana.
לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לאדוני, לאדוני, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לאדוני, נריה, 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 לצור אישנו, נקדמה פניו בתודה, בתודה, נריה, נריה, לצור אישנו, בזמירות נריה לו, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לאדוני, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לאדוני, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לאדוני, לאדוני, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה.
Move forward one, page 20, L'chadodi. Yai nai nai, yana na na na, likrat kala. Yana na na na, b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat, nikav. La 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 la, l'chadodi. Yai nai nai, yana la la la, likrat kala. Yana la la la, b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat, nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, yishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, v'shemo tiferet, v'li techila, v'li techila. Let's hear you. Yai nai nai, ya la 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 la, l'chadodi. Yai nai nai, ya la 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 la, likrat kala. Likrat kala. Ya la 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 la, b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat, nikabela. Likrat Shabbat, לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה. Let's hear you. Yai nai nai, ya la 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 la, l'chadodi. Yai nai nai, ya la 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 la, likrat kala. La 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 la, b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat, nikabela. Verse 5, hitoreri. 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 Kiva orech humiori. Uri, uri. Shir daveri.
כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה, עלייך נגלה, יאי לי לי, יאללה לה לה לה, לך דודי, לי לי לי, יאללה לה לה לה, לקראת כלה, יאללה לה לה לה, בני שבת, בני שבת, נקרא. We rise together and face the door. בואי ושלום, את תרד בלה, גם בשמחה ובתהילה, תוך אמונה עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, יאי לי לי, יאללה לה לה לה, לך דודי, יאללה לי לי, יאללה לה לה לה, לקראת כלה, יאללה לה לה לה, בני שבת, בני שבת, נקרא, לה 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 לה, לך דודי, לה לה לה, יאללה לה לה לה, לקראת כלה, יאללה לה לה לה, בני שבת, בני שבת, נקרא. We remain standing, turning to page 28. Together. ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם לעולם ועד. We're seated together, page 31. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch ata Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv, Aravim. Page 32. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, u'kim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu, v'shochreinu v'kumenu, נשיח בחוקך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ואורך ימינו, ובהם
תאכל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע
ישראל, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Echad.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בעם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת אמת.
We're on page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there's a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Page 40.
כמוך באלים אדוני, כמוך נטר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך ראו בניך, חוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה לי, אנו ואמרו זה לי, אנו ואמרו
Together.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגילו עמד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Page 43. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch ata Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 44.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם אותי עולם
Together,
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת וינפש שבת וינפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We rise together, page 46, and we move silently into our Amidah. You can be seated when you're finished.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Continue to let our prayers flow. Linear time goes from 1 minute to the next, but spiritual time doesn't have the same kind of dimension. We can hold more than one thing at a time in our spiritual realms, and we know that we want to close our hearts up when we're afraid, and this is precisely the moment to remember that it's from love that things get healed. It's from love. Olam chesed yibane, yararai dai dai dai. Olam chesed yibane, yararai dai 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 dai. Chesed yibane, yararai dai yararai. Olam chesed yibane, yararai dai dai And you must build, and you must build this world from love. And if we build, this world from love, then God will build this world. Then God will build this world from love, Olam chesed yibane, Yadadai,
As we do each week, we read a special prayer for Israel, though the prayer that we read right now isn't the prayer necessarily in my heart. The prayer in my heart really is that this brief reprieve that we have from fighting holds, right? That the ceasefire that we're seeing lasts the 6 weeks it's supposed to, and then goes into phase 2 and continues on. So although I'm going to read this prayer that we traditionally read each week, I want to add that hope to the mix. I've been carrying a lot around with me for the past year, almost and a half. And there was a certain lightness, at least on my shoulders, that I found for that particular crisis this week, knowing that there weren't bombs being dropped and soldiers dying, and that there were chances that all of the remaining hostages that are currently alive have a chance to get out. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, our God and God of our ancestors, we ask that you bless the state of Israel and all of Israel's inhabitants. Mokor Chaim, source of life, bless and strengthen those who defend the land and ensure their safe and speedy return home. Protect them and guide them. Kadosh Baruch Hu, holy and blessed one, show Israel's leaders your paths so they may act with wisdom, courage, and dedication, and that they may be unwavering in their pursuit of peace. Strengthen their hearts, but keep their hearts from hardening. Adonai Poked, God who remembers. It has been almost a year and a half, and there are more than 100 people currently being held in Gaza, many of whom are thought to be alive, and their time is running out. One specific name we're thinking of tonight is Guy Gilboa Dalal, age 22. Last October 6th, before heading out to the Nova Festival, Guy promised his father that he'd help dismantle the family sukkah when he got back. After the family learned that Guy had been taken captive, they decided to keep the sukkah up as a sign of their hope that he would soon return and be able to fulfill that promise. It has been more than a year, and their sukkah is still standing. Matir Asurim, freer of captives, return all those who are kidnapped safe and sound to their homes, without the spilling of more innocent blood, without any more souls being tarnished by horrific acts. Ba'al HaRachamim, master of compassion, help us to hold the humanity and the heartache of the Jewish people, of all the residents of the state of Israel, while also holding the humanity and dignity of the Palestinian people. As we are made in your image, remind us of your ways. Spread over us a shelter of peace and fulfill the vision of your prophets. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not take up sword against nation. They shall never again know war.
If your heart isn't open enough, just open it a teeny bit more to let in these prayers for healing. We turn to page 253 and get ready to name those names. Mishaberak avotenu v'imotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, hu yivarech et hakolim. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach avoteinu bekor habracha limotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha liavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. We all know the story of Matthew Shepard, who was kidnapped, beaten, and killed for being gay. But what we may not know is the aftermath of what happened after he died. After his funeral, which was protested by bigots around the country, his parents were worried, being from Texas, that if they buried him somewhere, his grave would be desecrated. And so they held on to his body for 20 years. And it took the kindness of a stranger to settle what would happen to him. Bishop Marion Edgar Buddy, who we know this week as the person who spoke truth to power and who advocated desperately for the LGBTQ community, for the stranger, for the immigrant community, reached out to his parents 20 years later after learning that he had not been interred. And she buried him in the National Cathedral. That is who was in the news this week. And so if there was anybody in the country with the moral authority to speak for the stranger, to speak for justice, to speak for mercy, to speak for love, it's a person who had walked the walk. And she ignited in this week a conversation about the place of religious moral authority in the question of public policy and public life. With people on both sides staying in their respective camps, each screaming their respective sides. Those on the right saying that she had no right to say what she said in that setting, and those on the left who applauded her for saying what she did. And I want to say that she stands in the footsteps of prophets who have come before. Now, I learned so much this week from her, in part because I've been saying a message that I think is counter to what she expressed. I wrote actually in my book about the power of pragmatism, the idea that when you are faced with someone who cannot hear your rebuke, the pragmatic thing is actually to keep quiet. Because if you anger them, you will lose the capital that you could use later on to potentially sway them. We're told very explicitly by our rabbis, do not rebuke a person who cannot hear it. But watching her do just that caused me to realize that actually there is a place
for rebuking the deaf. There is a place for speaking out for justice, even if it will not be heard. And as wise as I believe the Jewish tradition is and the ancient rabbis are, and as pragmatically sound as I believe their teachings are in the Talmud, ultimately, there is a place for prophetic discourse in this day and age. The problem is less that we don't have prophets, but that too many people feel like they need to speak out even if no one will hear them. But sometimes a situation arises where the moral individual must stand up and say something. And she took that opportunity. She taught the world that ultimately religion has a place in the moral discourse. The religion that tells us 3 times that we're supposed to love God, love our neighbor, and love the stranger. A religion who advocates not for strict justice, but rather for mercy, that imagines a God who every day, by habit, has 2 thrones in front of God and sits on the throne of justice, and then knowingly gets up and sits on the throne of mercy, because even for God, finding mercy in a world of justice is difficult. She modeled for us what it means to pursue the biblical dictum, justice, justice shall you pursue. And that justice is said twice, because if justice isn't done in a just way, you are not doing right. Simply a knee-jerk reaction of punishment is not the way forward. Informed by the depth of her tradition, she stood up there with wisdom, with experience, with conviction. And she spoke out against the policies around her and for the stranger, for the orphan, for the widow, for those who were most in need. And she was met with scorn and derision. But that is okay. You open up the Bible to any page of the prophets, and you find their life is filled with scorn and derision. The prophet Jeremiah was one of the most lonely individuals in the whole of the Torah, in part because he had the audacity to go into the halls of power and to speak the truth, to advocate for justice, to say violently against them the things that he found so vile in his world. And people put him in stocks, and they placed him in prison, and they threw trash at him, and they taunted him. But it didn't stop. It was hard, and it hurt, but he still raised his moral voice because he understood the place that religion can play in steering the world, not from this messy world we live in, but building a bridge into the world that we might one day inhabit. And if we lose that, if we're afraid to speak out because of the scorn and derision that we're going to find, if we're worried that people won't hear our moral voice or heed us, we've lost the important task that our tradition gives us, which is when we see something wrong, we say something with conviction of 3,000 years that we are right. We live in a world where either often when we speak out, those who already agree with us applaud and those who don't deride us. But that shouldn't preclude us from speaking the truth for any number of reasons. The first is that we might actually convince someone of our position. They might rise to the occasion, they might open their ears and they might hear us. The second is because we represent, at least when we speak from tradition, God in those moments. And by being ambassadors, by being emissaries of God, by trying to make this broken world a little bit more whole, we're doing exactly the task that God put forth. Our tradition is very clear. This world is broken not as a bug, but as a feature. That God, through God's love for humanity, give humanity the chance to finish the task of creating the world. The rabbis imagine a world where bread grows on trees and says, no, we actually get a chance to take wheat and to make it into bread as a final step so that we can finish the task that God started. And that brokenness of the world exists for that very reason, because we humans have agency to be able to actually do something. And the third thing is about talking about the power of truth in a world that often ignores it. One of my favorite stories in the Jewish tradition is the idea that when God was ready to make humanity, God gathered these angels around and asked them, should I create the human being? And the angels, by the way, who were personified virtues, all say to God different things. Compassion says to God, yeah, do it, because humans are going to have compassion and they're going to do a lot of good in this world. And truth says, don't, because humans are going to bring lies to this world and they're going to corrupt me, right? Peace says, don't. Humans are going to bring war. That's going to be really, really bad. But justice says, go for it. They're going to set up courts and they're going to try eventually to do the right thing. And God weighs which to do. And finally, God creates human beings, and truth comes forward again and says, but I told you, God. And no sooner does that happen that God takes that angel truth and throws that angel down onto the earth to walk amongst us so that truth might be able to hold us accountable and prove God right that God should have created the human being. Well, truth does walk upon us, but only if we take advantage of it. Only if we speak out like the bishop did. Only if we raise our moral voice with conviction out of the sources of our tradition. Only if we are not afraid to end up like Jeremiah. And when we're able to do that in this climate, in this era, it means that we walk with truth next to us. It means that we are a stand-in for that angel. It means that we bring a little bit more wholeness to this world. What she did was courageous. What she's been doing for her whole career has been courageous. And every one of us have the power to have that kind of moral conviction. We have 3,000 years of precedent of speaking truth to power. 3,000 years of precedent of privileging mercy over strict justice. 3,000 years of precedent of bringing love into this broken world. The goal and the question is whether or not we will have the moral courage to do it. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to rise together, page 282 for Elena.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigayei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Our thoughts now go out to those who we've loved and who we've lost. As I call the name of your loved ones, I'll invite you to rise and honor their memory. This Shabbat, we recall the following individuals: Barry Abrams, Robert J. Axelrod, Bess Berg, Sophie Berger, Linda Bernstein, Samuel Best, Irving Bilo, Hyman Chavkin, Pauline David, Francis Ehrlich, Carol Fetter, Hilla Felder, Norma Festa, Gussie Fishbane, Adelbert Fleischman, Irving Abraham Friedman, Helen Green, Alexander Hockman, Philip Holland, Gloria Isaacs Berlin, Barney Jacobs, Jenny Jacobs, Howard Kagan, Bella Kaiserman, Hyman Cantor, Rose Lazar, Marguerite Lilienthal, Hyman Mandel, Carol Manel, Erwin Michelson, Robert Nazaire, Barbara Neckers, Louis Pastner, Isidore Protus, Estelle Rothman, Bob Sarlin, Rabbi Elihu Chagrin, Edith Shapiro, Anita Scherer-Reiches, Michael Schramm, Sandra Schweghofer, Joan Shannon, Frida Schubes, Dorothy Smith, Charles Smithen, Beatrice Spear, Eleanor Stein, Florence Webster, Sarah Weinberg, Edna Rosalind Weitz, Abraham Wolf, Fanny Wolfstein, and George Zeitlin. And those who are in their Shiva and Shloshim periods of mourning: Preston Traver, cousin of Celia Zeisel; Jeffrey Traver, cousin of Celia Zeisel; Ida Edelman, mother of Deborah Caney; Sybil Elliott Savalsky, mother of Andrew Savalsky; Sally Friedman, mother of Amy and Nancy Friedman; Alan Hellman, father of Susan Hellman; and Louis Wexler, stepfather of Jessica Lycan. Finally, if there's anyone within their 1 year period of mourning, I'll invite you to rise and share the name of your loved one or someone who is observing a yard site that may not have been on this list. We join together, page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad divrach gurutei v'yamlech malchutei, v'chayei achon v'yom echon v'chayei t'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'yizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam omei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudashah barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiram bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'oko Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mamav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'oko Yisrael v'imru amen. So a few announcements. Do you want to say something about tomorrow?
So if you have not registered for the Shabbaton and you would like to join us, if you go on tonight, I know it's Shabbat, but if you go and register, then there will be a name tag for you. And if you don't register, come tomorrow and I'll write a name tag for you. It's nicer to be in the fold, but it is a day full of food for the body, mind, and soul. We have some great chefs. We have some great food coming. We have some great teachers. Of course, wonderful tefillah and an afternoon. If you can't come in the morning, Amy Ginsberg Bickel is going to do a retrospective of Theodore Bickel. Come anyway, and you just won't have a name tag.
Yes. So a plug for Sunday, actually, we've got this homegrown band called the TNT Ramblers. They're actually doing at Tierney's a fundraiser for Tony's Kitchen, which is the local soup kitchen. Come celebrate them and help them to raise money for Tony's Kitchen. And then a week from tomorrow, we have our big fundraiser for the congregation. It's our annual gala. It's really the only, besides the high holiday appeal, it's our only event fundraiser of the year. If you can come, we want to see you. It's at a really cool location. If you can't come, buy an ad, support us, maybe buy a ticket for someone in absentia that we might be comping the ticket for that can't afford it. We would love to see as much participation as possible. And then the weekend after that,
It's
Cantor,
such a busy month, February. It's not only my birthday month, but also finally the Temple Ner Tamid community is going to have their own album. we are about to, we're finishing up. There's going to be beautiful artwork, and everyone that participated in the recording process and part of the band and the choir are going to come, and we're going to perform every single original piece of music here on this bima with all of you. Are you going to be there? You better be. February 7th at 6:30 p.m., potluck. So many people to thank, but especially want to thank Marge and Paul Grayson, again, who year after year do a lot for me personally, but also for our community, lifting up arts in our community by helping us bring artists.
Indeed. So we always have a scholar an artist in residence every year, and there's a famous phrase in Hebrew, "Ein navi ve'ein nasi b'veito," which means there is no king and there is no prophet in his own house. Anyone, by the way, who's a high-powered person who has kids knows that's totally true.
That's absolutely
right?
true.
But the idea often is that like you kind of forget how lucky you are if you see a person day in and day out. And I think this is a way for us to realize like just how good this album is and just how lucky we are to have a cantor like we do here.
Oh, Rabbi Katz. Thank you.
So we'll finish up with...
And the next night, not at Temple Ner Tameh, but another very important fundraiser. Dave, real quick, tell us. So great. Thanks, Dave. We're going to end our tefillah with words of prayer on our lips. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, imeru, amen. Ya-da-da, ya-la-la-la-la, 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 Yoseh shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, amen. Shabbat shalom. Come have some cookies with us. Thank you.